only thing was to stay calm and cool and not give any sign of panic or being worried. Just calm, cool, and collected like a jet pilot. So I did. I stood up like I needed to use the washroom or something. Just knocked on the door nicely. She opened it. The guard, peace officer, female, part way. Most of the way, like you could walk out if you wanted, but I stood there and I asked, "Am I under arrest?" She said no. So then I proceeded to walk outside for a cigarette. But she goes, "Oh, no. The doctors still have to do tests." But yet I'm locked in a room. They took all my stuff and they want to give me a pill. Tests? Just some things weren't adding up. So I wanted to make sure I made it into the waiting room to let people know, hey, because I had already made a statement in the waiting room saying, hey, there's something going on in Vancouver. Here's my YouTube, before they took me in, just in case. That way other people knew. I'm smart. Like, I'm not going down like that. So yeah, I made it into the waiting room and said, hey, they're trying to get me, because they were. And if I didn't make it into that waiting room, and they were pissed that I did. If I didn't make it into that waiting room, I don't think I'd be here right now. And that's, you could say paranoid, but you would have had to have been there to feel the dread that I felt in that room. And I am leaving out a lot of their details. Nothing I did. I would obviously stay calm, cool, and collected. I got ambushed. So I made it into that waiting room, and it's like they came from every corner of the frickin' place, the peace officers, and like ambushed me and tried to slam me, but I went to my knee and I stopped, and it was the only time I had ever resisted. And I was like, fuck this, I'm not going down like that. And then I'm like, just let me go on my own, I'll take the pill or whatever. And they let me go on my own, and I took the pill, but it wasn't a pill, it was a tranquilizer. And I just remember asking for a priest or maybe someone to talk to. They're like, no priest. And they just all stood around me like they were in a cult or something, just looking at me while I'm just this helpless guy, man, who's been through a lot at that point, and just treat me like dirt, just staring at me like they're just like some sort of a cult. No priest. And it's just like, have some humanity. But nope, not these people at Medicine Hat Hospital. I wouldn't say I went to the absolute worst place to go to. I would say I would choose some ghetto hospital before I went there. There's nothing wrong with the ghetto, but I would go to the greasiest hospital before I went to Medicine Hat Hospital. I'll just say that, because at least I'm probably not going to deal with some Satanists. I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist, but the nurses and some of the peace officers, they did have weird Masonic tattoos. And Medicine Hat Hospital, their address is 666 Medicine Hat Regional Hospital, Alberta. If you want to look it up, ask for 5 North, Dr. Nawali. Anyway, that's a long story. I was in there with Dr. Nawali, literally mind games, trying to discredit me, trying to make me second guess myself. Anytime I would say anything that wasn't his narrative, he would say, I'm ordering an injection. First, it would be like, so you're from BC? Yes. And you work in BC? Well, I was in Alberta and I just recently moved back to BC. I'm ordering an injection. Like, literally like that. I would answer a question, basic, standard calibrating questions, I guess you would call it. Forget what you call that word. Anyway, just basic baseline questions to gather someone's if they're being deceptive or not, or basic questions that a psychiatrist would ask, and I would answer truthfully and honestly. But it would be just basic questions. Nothing about what I was talking about the environment. And he's saying he's ordering an injection. I'm like, well, I have the right to refuse medication. And he said, we will have to force it to you. And they did. They force medicated me. I'm leaving out a lot because I missed out the part where I had asked for a Bible and was walking around the unit because there's nothing else to do, and that's when they tranquilized me again, because it's my right to have a Bible. And there wasn't one in the whole building because there were student nurses that came in. Not one Bible in that whole building. Eventually, after a few days and days, actually, of new people coming in, and every time I see a new person, I'm trying to get them to get a Bible. And it creates noise about my emergency, because I would also tell them my YouTube channel. I sent some SOSs out to the student nurses. Anytime I was able to get into contact with someone new, or the phone, I even called the police. 911. I'm like, I'm abducted, because I was. Anyway, long story short, Dr. Nawali was trying so hard to get me so medicated that I was a vegetable in the bed that it worked. I thought I was done because he finally had me as a vegetable in the bed. I was feeling sick and defeated, actually. Like, I couldn't take another moment in there, but I was too weak to do anything. So it was like a torture in a way, because not only am I in constant awareness and pain and mentally because of them, in that I can't do anything, it was not knowing that I was ever getting out. That was also, plus not being able to move. Like, I used to eat all my meals. Now I'm eating half of it, and only once a day. And he didn't adjust it, because the first pills were making my legs go numb, like paralyzed, to be honest. I woke up in the morning and my legs were paralyzed, and I started crying, to be honest, because I thought, what the fuck are they doing to me? Long story short, one of the other doctors that had randomly came in, and they were trying to hush me. I was like, "Doctor, my name's Glenn Smallwood, and I shouldn't be here. My YouTube channel is Glenn Smallwood." At the time it was. "Can you look into it and see what you can do?" And he said, "Yeah." And I believed him. Like, he was saying yeah, but didn't make eye contact, just like an acknowledgement, like I'm not supposed to acknowledge you, but I am, kind of thing. And he was the one that was sitting in the room the day I got out. And Dr. Nawali was mad that I was getting out. It was not in his plan whatsoever. Dr. Michael Nawali. He doesn't speak English very well. I don't know what he's doing as a doctor. He doesn't assess people. He doesn't take in information. He builds a narrative on you before he even meets you, and forces you to fit that narrative. Whatever he built up about you in his paperwork, somehow with medication, he makes you fit that. Because in his paperwork, he called me a rambling, delusional, schizophrenic, and then some other things, pretty much saying I couldn't care for myself. Reasons why you would have to force medicate someone. But everyone in the unit saw that I was just fine. Not only that, I was like a manager in a way. I was, in the unit, like, trying to socialize with people, keep everyone entertained. I'd order pizza, things like that, just being normal and trying to get out the SOS. This is getting a little long, I'm sorry. That's just the first part. I got out, and I had to go back to Vancouver to save money again for work. I was going to continue on, but I knew I didn't have enough funds to do that. So I had to go back to work and then carry on. And that's what I did. Only this time, when I left across Canada to the Great Lakes to finish my original mission, and then Ottawa, it was a year or two into, it was 2 years into the emergency now. So I was doing a lot of investigating where I was in Vancouver while I was working. But when I saved up enough to take off, it was worse as I traveled east. So from Vancouver to Ottawa, just kept getting worse and worse with the environmental emergency. And